All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Course Creator Community Podcast. I am super excited because we've got an absolute rock star on the line this week. A little bit about this person. She's an edutainer coach. Now, that's not a spelling mistake I made, or I don't have an accent or anything. What she does is she helps coaches and course creators combine education and entertainment to create an epic experience. Now, I'm sure we all want to give our students epic experiences because out of the goodness of the heart, and that's what we want to do. But if you can do it, it enables you to also charge more for your courses. And that's what this woman is going to help us do. You know, how can we increase the value of our course, whether it's from 50 to 500 or 500 to 5,000, she's got the principles. So without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Ms. Areej Ahmed. Areej, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me, Jono.
No, thank you for coming on. Areej, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
Yes, I do. The quote starts with, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Action is power. This is by Tony Robbins. And I love this because I realize you can be the smartest person, or you know everything, or you're taking all these education, but yet you're not doing anything about it. So what's the point? And that really triggered me because I realized I love reading. I started looking into audiobooks, and that was a whole thing. And now I realize every year I'm increasing how much I'm reading. And now I start to think, I'm like, wait, I just listened to 100 books, but why am I still the same? This is not right. So, and I think this is how, as course creators, we should start looking into that when we're giving our knowledge out there. Is that enough? Shouldn't we really have them now act upon it? And are we even, pushing them forward to do that? Yeah.
Yes, love that. I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan myself, and I love that quote too. And I'm also a huge reader myself. And I think you need both, right? Obviously, you need to educate yourself, but if you don't implement anything, like you can be the smartest person in the world, you're still going to be broke, And then the opposite, the way I like to consider myself anyway, is that I may not be the smartest person in the world, but every bit of knowledge that I have, I make sure that I monetize it somehow, or that, I put that knowledge into practice so that it benefits me financially. So I love that quote there. So curious, Areej, what got you into course creation? What's your story, or why did you get into helping course creators, and how do you actually help them now?
So my background is nursing, and I've been a nurse for over 12 years now. But I realized halfway that I love teaching. So the past 6 years, that's what I focused on. I started teaching in university, school institutions, as well as hospital setting. And I realized the information that I'm giving is vital that they understand and that they implement. And in order for me to keep them being interested, I had to somehow entertain them to wanting to listen to me and wanting to continue doing it. So, and I remember this one time where there were 100 students in front of me, and I gave them their exams, and I'm thinking to myself, like, yes, we're almost done. And they finished their exam, and usually when they finish class, they're gone. I don't see them again. But that day, I realized few of them, like a lot of them, were waiting in front of the door. So I pick up the exam and I'm walking out, and the students were saying, like, they were smiling, saying, what other courses are you teaching? Or what are you planning to teach? And I thought, yes, I got to them, because it's not about just the knowledge, but it's about wanting to learn more from you and how you're delivering it. And I think that's really important. So yes, as a course creators, we have the knowledge and we want to be able to teach, but now we need to be able to step up a little and try to give more to actually help them transform. And this is now, with these skills, I am now on a mission to sort of give that value to really boost that program that anyone has. Yeah.
Yes, love that. It's like, and I'll put that a little bit in my perspective as well. So my background is in fitness, more specifically group fitness, right?
Yeah.
And it's still teaching in a way, right? It's not traditional teaching education, but there's an element. yeah, I guess you want to call them a group fitness teacher, but an instructor teacher, much of a muchness, right? And there's a difference between just giving someone the exercises. All right, guys, here are the 10 exercises, go and do them. I'll put my music on and put a stopwatch and yell out motivational quotes. You're still delivering the content there, right? But there's a difference if you can make it an experience for the people in that class there. And if you can make it an experience, they're not only going to keep coming back to your class again and again and again, but they're going to ask you, hey, what else are you teaching there? So I can 100% relate to that. And then also it makes it more valuable, right,
For sure.
Areej? If
For
let's use
sure.
those students as an example there. Let's say, for example, you're like, yep, great. Hey, I'm teaching, this other course here. You can do the generic version with this other teacher, which is, I don't know how education works over there, but it's X amount of dollars, or you can do my one here. It's an extra, whatever it is, $500, $1,000, whatever. They're, well, I'm not going to say they're probably, but they're more likely to pay that if they're getting if you can give that person a better experience, you're going to be able to charge more. So I love that there.
Well said.
Let's bring it into the online world now, Areej. People may be listening to this and being like, yeah, all well and good, Areej. It's different teaching in person. Oh, yeah, all well and good, Jono. It's fitness isn't, group fitness isn't an online course. Let's bring it to the online course world, Areej. What can someone listening to this now, online course creator, what can they do to be a better teacher or to give their students a better experience? What tips can you give us?
Awesome. So, okay, so there's 4 steps that I could think of that you can do to create that epic experience. One is you want to make sure that you want to keep it short, not too long and not too short. And what they say now, it should be like about 8 minutes. So this is when you're having a recorded session, you want to make it short. If you choose to make it long, let's say after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or as you're talking, you want to ask a question to be able to get them back, the listeners back, listening to you. Okay, there's this concept called the drifting theory, meaning that I could be looking at you, nodding, saying, yes, I understand. But really, I just went and I was thinking about what happened yesterday, or I'm already thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow. But really, am I listening right now? I don't know. And you won't know.
The men will relate to that one quite a lot. I think the women may be thinking that doesn't happen. I'm sure the men can say that we've probably done that a time or two before.
And you probably become really good at it. It's like, what are you talking about? And rephrase the last 3 words, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
So
That's
as an
exactly what.
instructor, as
Yeah.
an instructor, what we need to do is sort of say, okay, from what I just said, how can you relate to this? Or can you give me an example of this? Or bring your story. Basically, whenever you're delivering your topic, you need to think, they're always thinking, they're tuning into one radio station, WIIFM. Have you heard of that? What's in it for me? So you want to be able, and that's because of that, you don't want to make it too long. The story of the was it Goldilocks and the 3 bears?
Yeah.
So and then
We got them in Australia too. Yeah. Were those bears in Canada as well, were they?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
want to
okay.
quickly mention it? So it's like
Yeah.
the Goldilocks goes into this house and finds the porridge, and then she goes on the first, wants to take a sip from the first porridge, and it was too hot. The second one was too cold. Then the third one, it was just right. Then she goes into sits on a chair, and it was like too hard, too soft, and the other one was like just right. Then same thing with the bed, it was too big, too small, it was just right. The whole concept of just right theory is called Goldilocks effect. This is real, like psychologically, this is how we think. So when students are listening to you, you don't want to give too much information that is so detailed that all of a sudden they're like, okay, whoa. You want to give it just enough for them to make that action. So this is really important to know. The other thing, the second one, is make it simple. So what does that mean? It means whatever information you're giving, you want to make it like a grade 5 level, that very simple, anyone can understand. And how you can tell is choose someone that doesn't know your topic or
Yes.
has not heard of it. Yeah. And then just tell them. If they're really listening, you're good. If all of a sudden they're like, what do you mean? Or their facial expressions changing, then you need to, like change it up and make it really simple. And this is really important because when they're listening to you, you don't want them to think like, what do they mean? Or what does that mean? And then just don't let them think. Just, okay, I got it. I understand. Next. Third, make it interesting. And this is where that epic experience comes in. I'm going to explain a little bit more about this one. So making it interesting as in, don't just tell me what to do, show me, right? And what makes a difference between you as a coach or as a course creator versus somebody else who's delivering the same topic is two things: your experience and your personality. Now add a story to that and bam, that's what makes your program like an amazing experience, because it's Jono and I love the way he's presenting and I love his experience and I love his stories. It's him. It's not like anybody else who is also a fitness, coach and things like that. So that's what makes you very unique, right? And this is where this is where the fourth comes in, which is storytelling. That's really important. For every topic you have, you must have a story. And if you want them to remember anything in detail, then put in detail those story. And I remember once me and my sister were sitting down and we were watching this speaker and she said, oh, wow, I really like her. And I said, oh, what did you learn from her? She said, yeah, I took this course a few years ago. I don't remember what I learned, but I know I liked her. And that means that she just liked that feeling, but couldn't really relate exactly what that topic is. And usually if that speaker has mentioned some stories, those, like, matter what, years can pass, but they will remember, oh, I liked when Jono said this, and I remember that story. That was funny. Or I remember he said that way. Usually stories are the best way that they can remember. So just making sure that there's always a story with each topic, that helps. Now, with keeping it interesting, I wanted to add a little bit more about that. Usually a lot of the courses that we have, there needs to be a mindset, right? We need to be able to get them into that mindset and being able to get them to really finish the course, get it, like, let's finish this and let's, just more of the mindset. And I'll give you an example of what I did with that. And this was done online, okay? And there were about 60 students there. So what I did is I got everybody to get a jug, water and ice. Okay. It was cold. We made sure we waited for like a good 10 minutes. So we all at the same time, we put the 12 ice cubes in a jug of water. And what I said was, okay, so I want everybody at the same time, in a count of 3, when I say in, everybody puts their hands into that jug of water. Nobody makes closes their fist. It has to be out open like that. So everybody open, like spread their hands, and it's like 1, 2, 3, in. So we're all in, and what happens? It's cold. It hurts, that pain is there. So everyone is like, so everyone is voicing like, oh my God, it's so cold. Some are swearing, some are like, what is this? Why am I putting myself into this? And then I had one person type down everything that everyone was saying. Now, as they're feeling this pain, some of them were like, forget this. They took it out. Some of them were like, oh, I'm not going to take my hands out. No, I'm stronger. And then some were like, so after like a good minute and a half, people started to calm down. And there was hardly any talk anymore. And they're just looking at each other. It's like, oh, are you going to take it out? Are you going to take it out? And then in the end, it was like, they didn't feel the pain anymore. And then it's like, okay, are we good? Yeah. And then in the end, all of us took our hands out at the same time. Now, I was like, what happened? So, and from there, I used that concept of trying to help them understand that mindset. This was scary. They put their hands in, the pain was hard. They verbalized, and then from there, it's like, what? And then first is realizing when you're in there, it's painful. You want to think, can I control this pain? Or is it controllable or uncontrollable? Some said it is controllable, so I'm going to get out. Forget this. And some were like, nope, it is controllable, but I choose to still stay in that pain because I want to win. So, and then from there, it's like some looked at each other and said, wait, if you guys can do it, so can I. So from that concept, there's so many things you can teach them. because then you want to be able to let them realize the importance of community, because when they saw everyone else in pain, they were like, okay, it's fine, we're doing it together. And when they saw each other, it become like a fun competition, and then they realize, oh wait, it is really hard, but in the end my body was able to maintain it, like to overcome it, and hey, it's not that bad. And really in life everything is really hard at the beginning, and then in the end you think, oh well, yeah, it wasn't too bad. So this, I realized with this, the amount of information and insights that everybody come out of it, it was so much fun, and it was so good. And then some would say, I'm going to hold the ice in my hand and see how long they could do it, and it was like, nope, that was too hard. But realizing that what you say to yourself and what it matters, and it's like, no, I can do it, I know I'm going to do it, and then they tend to make it. While others who says, oh, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can, they tend to quickly take it out. And this is what I wanted to sort, and I guess this is where it comes in, where you don't want to just leave it as record, just don't tell me the importance of mindset, show me in this kind of concept, so then it's like, oh wow, that was fun, I remember, and then she told me this. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. Okay, some good bits of info there. Let me break these down one by one, make sure I understand them, make sure the listeners understand them. So point number one was keep it short, but not too short. That's the Goldilocks principle, right? And yeah, I love that there, because I've seen some courses that the first one comes to my mind. This one, because I sort of do courses for other people as well, or I used to. This one guy sent me over a course, a 7-hour course, one video, because he videoed his workshop, and he's like, yep, here you go. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. No one's watching a 7-hour thing there. Yeah, I like around that 8 minutes myself. It obviously varies, right? And then some are a bit longer, some are a bit shorter, and there's many different ways there. But I love that there. And I think the key that I like there is less is more. It's like it used to be a common thing to think more is better. And I remember I was speaking to one of my friends, got to be about 5 years ago now, and he was putting together a course, like a manual. And he's like, right, I've put together this 200-page manual. Do you think that's enough to charge $500, or should I put more pages in this manual? It was all about how much info can I put in here. But the world's actually gone the other way, right? Everyone is too busy. How can we learn it in less? And I'll use a fitness example, and I'll use you as an example here, Areej. Let's just say you did want to lose weight. You probably don't, right? But let's just say you did want to lose weight. And I asked a question, hey, Areej, you can lose weight with you want to lose 10 kilos, right? Do you want to do it in 12 weeks, or do you want to do it in 6 weeks? You're going to pick the 6 week, exactly, Or let's even go another one. Hey, Areej, I've got this boot camp, right? Or let's do personal training. I can give you the same result in a 60-minute session or a 45-minute session. Which one are you going to pick?
45.
100, even though it's less, right? So I think it's important to look at it as a course creator. If you can give someone the same information in a shorter period, it's a better thing. So I love that there. We then went on to simple. I love that grade 5 level. And because most of my students are actually other personal trainers, I actually go a grade 3 level, right? But if you're teaching to nurses, maybe a grade 5 is good there. But yeah, I think simple is good, because I think the key thing here is also you're not selling to your peers, right? If I bring it back to the fitness side of things, right? Let's say someone's a fitness trainer and they want to get clients, right? If they do a post with all the fitness words and the scientific words, the people aren't going to understand it, that they want to train, So it's like, it's less about trying to, you're trying to sound smart. You're not trying to impress your peers. You're trying to impress the people that don't know what so you got to dumb that down. And you mentioned Tony Robbins in one of these. He's the king of that. He'll get the most complex subject and break it down. I think he talks about it. He's like, hey, if you're really smart about something, you should be able to explain it to an idiot. And he speaks to astronauts, and he's like, all right, explain to me how space is like this apple here. Dumb it down. If you can't do it, you don't know what you're talking about there. So I think that's key there. And let me think I think that's about as deep as I can go there. I think the more simple you make it, the better it's going to be for people going through. And you also touched on explaining it to someone who's not in your space. So just for a bit of fun, for a month, I did copywriting for other people. I said, hey, I'll write your copy, jump on this Zoom call. We'll do it for 30 minutes. By the end of it, we'll have copy. And the people that we could write really good copy for were the people that could dumb it right down. For the people that were sort of, making it complicated and speaking to their peers, it was really hard for them to dumb it down for the copy. And I'd have to ask them, so what do you mean by that? Okay, but what does that mean? Okay, but what does that mean? Okay, but what does that mean? And it really got the person thinking like, oh, shit, like I can't explain this to an everyday person. So I think that's a very good exercise there. We then went on to make it interesting in storytelling. And we'll probably weave those two together, right? Because Areej gave a perfect example there. She told a story about how she made her course more interesting there and a better experience. So I think they're two good things to weave in. I think I'm going to ask you in a sec, what are some other things we can do to make it interesting right away? But I think either way, like if you're listening to this, study storytelling and study how to be likable, and study humor as well. There are a few things I've done. I'll give some resources, and I'd love to get some answers from you, Areej. So I watch a YouTube channel, Charisma on Command. Do you watch that one at all? Have you heard of that?
No.
So he teaches you, how to be likable and that sort of stuff there. And that's key. If you can make yourself more likable, people are going to be more likely to buy. They're going to have more fun on there. I actually hired a comedian to help me with my coursework and make it funnier. Because I realized, I was like, man, everyone's teaching such similar.
I thought you were natural.
What's that?
I thought you were natural.
I wish I was the least funny guy. I was Mr. Serious, and I realized it. I'm like, man, and I was studying. I was like, what do people watch online? People like funny stuff, So I was like, well, how can I be funnier? And then I did some research. No, I'll tell you a story, right? So this is how I discovered that. I used to have a mentor, AJ Merzard, in the fitness world, back in 2014. Did his online course. It was okay. It's good content. It was good content, actually. And then a couple of years later, in 2016, I did his course again. And it was just so funny. He was cracking jokes through there, and like I wanted to watch the course, obviously to get the info, but also to hear his jokes. Like it was just so funny and such a good experience. Okay. And then I hit him up. I'm like, AJ, man, like, what have you done in these 2 years? I did your course 2 years ago. I did your new one here. It was so much better. Not so much the content. It was just, I enjoyed watching it more. And he's like, well, I hired this comedian from Las Vegas, Matt Kazam, and he went through my content and taught me how to write jokes and make it funnier, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, all right, introduce me to this guy, and then I've been working with Matt Kazam, and I've seen a better result in my social media and my public speaking, all over it there. And storytelling. So yeah, I don't think I have I'm going to hand it over to you, Areej. So what are some things now? They're probably my top three, I would say, humor, storytelling, and I've forgotten the third one already. Humor, storytelling, and whatever the hell I said. But what are some things you could say that people could do right now to help make their thing more interesting?
With storytelling?
Anything, storytelling, yes, 100%. And even if there's a resource there that someone could go, but even if it's not storytelling, what are some other things we could do to make the course more interesting?
So experiences, I want you to think of like just something that happened to you. Like I'm just thinking, because that makes it more meaningful. And with stories, it doesn't necessarily, because I remember when I did a workshop on this, some of my clients were like, but I don't have any stories to share. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your story then. You can sort of say, and then I recall, or a friend mentioned the story, or I want you to listen to this story. Like somehow, just bring, it doesn't have to be your story, just bring a story and plug it into your example. But the key is it has to be relatable, right? And like what you mentioned, and if it's humorous, oh man, they'll remember it even more, right? So you want to make it relatable. What else? You want to make it with humor and detailed as possible, like using the whole 5 senses. And then I saw this, and then I heard this, and then I felt this, and then I touched that, and then I said that. So just so they can actually picture the whole thing, it makes it more meaningful.
Do you have a resource for storytelling? Do you have
I
like, hey,
do.
read this book or watch this guy tell a story or?
I do have like a guide, like a checklist that I could give you
Yeah.
where whatever story you have, just see if it fits on all of that. And then what you should do is, of course, tell a story to somebody else before you actually, make it official and let
Yeah.
the whole world know. And then, like for example, if you think it's funny, first test it out and see if they actually are laughing, and then after that, do it. Right.
Mm.
And it's amazing. Like I'll give you an example. When you're like when I was telling a story, I wanted to explain how important it is how you deliver it. And my goal was I'm going to tell you a story and make everyone yawn. And how
Huh.
I did it is I would say, I'm like, oh, and then, like, and then I was so tired. And then I'll actually have a cup of, I'm like, and then I was drinking.
Mm.
mm, for the first time, I'm drinking coffee, but I'm just so exhausted. But and I'll keep yawning and I'll keep yawning as I'm talking. And then what happens eventually, and I'll mention like detailed information, you'll see people like it's just so interesting. You'll see everyone's faces like already getting tired, or they're already like their expressions are like they're feeling for me. And then it hit like you would get at least 80% of them will start yawning as well. And that's empathy because now they're really feeling you. So it's and that's what you sort of want, whether what's your end goal of it and things like that. And usually with the like what if whoever's interested is when you have a story, you check off and say, okay, yep, it relates, yep, there what's my end goal? Do I want to make them smile? Do I want them to have an action? Do I want them to yawn? Do I want them to smile or things like that? And then you do that a few times, and after that it becomes natural. Well, with all your stories you sort of do it. Yeah.
Yes, no, love that time. If anyone wants tips also on how to make people yawn during a presentation, I'm the king of that. I don't try and do it; it just happens naturally. So I can probably give some tips on that. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Areej, I want to be sensitive of your time, and there's a few questions I always like to finish up with. One of them revolves around course hosting. So everyone listening to this is a course creator, and everyone's got their favorite platform and what they use. I'm curious, what's your favorite platform, or what platform do you use to host your courses or recommend people host their courses on?
Well, so far I'm looking into ClickFunnels. So
Okay.
that's what yeah, so far it's really good so far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I've used it. I've actually got a ClickFunnels shirt on. I'm not sure if you recognize the logo there, if I can get it out of the mic. But I'm a huge Russell Brunson fan. He's a good storyteller. If you
Yes,
if
yeah.
you you know listen to him on a webinar or read any of his books, like
Oh yeah.
I know his stories off by heart. I can tell you all Russell Brunson's stories and all his teachings just because I recognize the story.
That's it. Well, yes, exactly. And that's how we should be. That it's like, oh yes, I remember I went to this course and I remember these stories, exactly what you said. That's awesome.
He's the favorite story he tells is so funny. He tells this story and he's like, it starts a chapter of his book. He's like, and I was writing down on the piece of paper. I was like, all right, if I can get my email list to 10,000 people and I can just all sell them something for $1, okay, that's $10,000 in 1 month. I redid my calculations and then I redid them again. And I'm like, right, all I need to do is, build my list to 10,000 people. That's it. I'm solved. I jumped up out of my desk and said, yes. And then I looked around and realized, hold on, there was no one else in the classroom. This class finished 15 minutes ago, and I'm still writing on and I was just cracking up when I heard that. And I'm like,
Wow.
what a good story. I heard that years ago, and I still remember it off by heart here. So,
See, and as you're speaking, I actually imagined all of that, which was awesome. Yeah.
and he did it
Yeah.
better, like I paraphrased his thing there. If you read in the book, you can imagine him there sitting on the desk, on one of those Bart Simpson desks, scribbling down on the piece of paper and then jumping out and then looking around. It probably didn't even happen like that, but the way he told the story made
For
it sound
sure.
like that. Yeah,
For
yeah, which
sure.
is cool. Okay, and my final question, Areej, is around mentors. So you're obviously a mentor for plenty of course creators out there. I'm curious to hear who your biggest mentors have been. And if you can answer this in a few different ways, if you could give us a paid mentor, so someone that you've handed over cash to and you've done their course or their coaching program, someone that you haven't paid, but you follow them on social media, whether, you look up to them, you follow them on social media, whether it's their YouTube channel, their Instagram account, their Facebook group, whatever it may be, and then a book that you recommend every course creator should read.
Yeah. So um My business coach, she was amazing. Her name was Reem Kharbat. Learned so much from her. The other person that I've learned so much from was Gerald Henning. He is a mindset performance coach, and it was just amazing. He has this thing called Mind Scan Gym, and every session I went, I thought, I'm like, oh, I already got this. I know what to do, but it was always such a learning experience every time. And the book that I love and I would recommend is Brain Rules by John Medina. It was amazing. Loved it.
Brain Rules, did you say?
Yep, Brain Rules by John Medina.
I'm going to Amazon it right now. Tell me a little bit about that book,
You
Areej. What's
have
that about?
to. So he did, and I mean, what he did is he also has another one about brain rules for elderly, and then he has one for children. But start off with this one, and he basically gives you an idea of what I talked about is when you're teaching how people are thinking, what are the concept of how they're learning, and how it's just more of how you're living your life and why we're doing what we're doing. So, for example, when I talked about this whole drifting theory, and you're thinking why, there's actually a research, and they found out that they can't help it. In 8 minutes, they just need to, like, the brain just sort of like thinks about something else. So it's how important it is for it to have a break, and if we don't, the brain is gonna do it. So yeah, it was a very different insights that I didn't think about.
Well,
Yeah,
just put it on my Amazon shopping list then.
awesome.
Awesome. All right. So, Reach, I'm sure there's going to be a heap of people listening to this, watching this, and are like, all right, this woman is cool. I like her stuff. I want to follow her. I want to speak to her. What do we do? Do we follow you on Instagram? Add you as a friend on Facebook? What's your best social platform?
Yeah, Facebook. Just add me and we can definitely chat. And I would love to just even hear your program and see how I could help you to even make it better. Would love that. Would welcome that.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll also put a link in the show notes for everyone listening. Areej actually gives us a free breakthrough session. I'll put a link down below in the show notes and recommend to check that out. Areej, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. Is there anything I should have asked you but forgot to, or anything you want to finish us off with?
Yeah. So for those who have a recorded videos or like
Mm,
so what I and how you can increase, let's say if you're in a low ticket versus to a high ticket, my suggestion is like keep your content as is, and then what you should do is have an upsell. And then with an upsell, make it double, let's say, whatever price you have. And that would be where you come in as a live coaching session, let's say at the beginning of the course before they actually open it and go right deep into it. Then you want to have another one in the middle, and then you want to have one in the end. So that
yes.
so that at the beginning where it becomes like an introduction, right? So when you're launching your program, you say, okay, let's say you get about 50 or 100 or whoever is going to come, and then you sort of do an introduction of, okay, so this is what we're going to do, and this is a community right now that we're going to work on together, and because you want it's more fun when I know others are learning with me and in
Mm,
that course, instead of just leaving it dry. And so I mean, just sort of leaving me to learn by myself. So just sort of having an introduction, that would be that first, and then of course of mindset and finding different activities that you can somehow get them involved in. Then then sort of saying, okay, finish this much, and these modules, or up to this much, and then later on we're going to meet at this time. So then people will look forward to, or at least see the recording and realize, whoa, what am I missing? And then, and this is where they come in and actually ask questions. And this is where you come in and mention more stories, or mention more of what others, because I'm just thinking as they're listening, you could even have you know, some suggestions that they can send you, that you can say, hey, somebody mentioned this is what they did, or just sort of making it more tangible. And then lastly ending with, okay, we finished. How well did you guys do, or did you reach your goal? And just that way, there's that connection, and it's not just about us being a coach or course creators, getting the money, but more of also seeing them succeed and seeing their process and their progress as they being transformed. And that's just one idea that I thought of that others can think about.
Yes, love
Yeah,
it. I think it's an important thing, like especially with the price point, right? Like I feel there's a difference. An online course is an online course. If you
exactly.
want to add value to that, great. You know, what can you add in there? And even if it's not one-on-one, right? Even if it's like, hey,
Yep.
as part of this
Group.
course, you know, yeah, the first Tuesday of the month at this time here, you guys get this group session and, you know, we meet each other, we play some games, or I give a webinar, but you can ask questions or it's a live, or, you know, I think anything you can add there adds value to it. So awesome
Sure.
point, Areej. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you want to finish us up with, or we'll leave it at that for today?
We'll leave it at that. Thanks, Jono.
Beautiful. Thank you for your time, Areej.
You're welcome.